What is going on, everyone? Man, it seems like every time I come on and do a video, I always say, man, I haven't been on here in quite some time. And it's true, I haven't done a video in a minute. As always, I've just been so busy with life and just trying to make things happen. You know, you got family and work and all of those good things. It's sometimes difficult to get on here and do a 2 or 3 minute video and post it on YouTube. But just want to hop on now, kind of talk about my most recent experience with the Naca program. This video might go a little longer than I want it to go. I'm hungry right now, so I'm gonna try to get through it pretty quickly. But first of all, what is the Naca program? The Naca program is the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America program. And some of the benefits of Naca include no down payment. Naca does not require you to have a high credit score. They pretty much base their decision to lend to you on your character, your history of payment. So you can have a poor credit score, but if the last 24 months have been pretty clean, then you pretty much will qualify for their product. Another wonderful benefit of the program is that it doesn't matter if you have a 550 credit score or an 800 credit score, you will obtain the same exact interest rate depending on whether or not you are a non-priority or a priority member. No closing costs, no PMI, no fees. I mean, on the surface, the program is phenomenal. My wife and I closed on our home in 2015 through Naca. We were able to utilize $7,500 in builder credits to help buy our rate from a 2.875 at the time to a 0.125% rate. And we were able to do that because we were, if I'm not mistaken, to this day, I believe we were the first couple, the first family in Texas to utilize their wealth building mortgage, which was the 15-year mortgage. And it had an incredible buy down of half of a point for every 1% you put down. So we were able to utilize $7,500 from the builder plus about $4,400 from ourselves, and we brought the rate down to basically 0%. So essentially everything that we pay on our mortgage right now goes to principal. So we're pretty close to paying it off after 8 years. So I think we'll be done in 10, which a lot of people say you're stupid for paying it off early. But that's neither here nor there. But those are the basic benefits of the program. There are definitely a lot of downfalls to the program. And I said about 3 years ago, after I helped my in-laws buy their house through Naca, when it got to a point where they were supposed to close through Naca, and for some reason to this day I don't understand why, but it got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and there was never any explanation why. The house was ready to move in, and for some weird reason Naca couldn't get to the closing table until about 2 weeks after they were supposed to close. And it got to the point where my in-laws started having to pay a daily fee. And I need to go back and look at my paperwork. I can't remember if I was able to get it waived for them or not, but it was just a headache, and I swore off of never representing anyone doing Naca again. I said I would, you know, gladly recommend them to another agent, a Naca in-house agent or something, just because the program has become so difficult to manage over the last 7, 8, 9 years. It was difficult when I went through it, but it's even more so difficult now. It's just impossible. So I swore off of ever doing Naca again, or representing a Naca client. Well, I got a really good buddy of mine who, you know, last year he told me he was going through Naca. I was like, cool, you know, and I gave him the pros and the cons. But anybody who sees the terms on a Naca deal and then they see the terms on any other deal besides Naca, they will see that Naca makes sense because Naca is by far the best product out there when you talk about, you know, get down to the nitty gritty. You look at the numbers, the lack of a PMI, not having to pay closing costs. Naca is a phenomenal tool. So I was like, cool, you know, do what you gotta do. At the time, I had kind of sworn off of real estate. I still had my license active, but I did not pay the money to my board of realtors to continue to actually practice. So I was just kind of, you know, listening to him as a friend, as a buddy. But then he texted me earlier this year and said, hey, I should be qualified pretty soon and I need an agent. I know an agent. I was like, cool. So he technically wanted me to represent him, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna come out of retirement because if anybody knows anything about the last few years as a primary buyer's agent in the market, it was ridiculous. And I got to a point where I was spending so much time showing homes, we were getting overbid and outbid, and it was just unreal. So I said, you know, I'm gonna give it a break, you know. And just to be transparent, a few years ago, I made about $52,000 working part-time in real estate. Then the next year I made about $31,000 working part-time. And then last year I made about $18,000 or $19,000 working part-time. But there were no clients in the pipeline. So I was like, you know, this is the perfect time to just kind of step away and focus on other things. And I had no issue with that. I got a, you know, very good job. And the real estate really was just icing on the cake. And I was just doing that because I really enjoyed it, but it was becoming more stressful having clients and being a buyer's agent in a hardcore seller's market. So, but let me go back to what I was saying. My boy reached out to me and I said, man, I would gladly renew my board of realtors deal in order to represent him. So I went ahead and did that. I think it was like about $600 to go ahead and renew that. Did that. Then once I got that done, he started sending me houses to go look at. And we were able to set some things up, look at some houses. And let me also tell you another frustrating thing about the program. So when I went through, you know, there was no non-priority and priority limitation. So I was able to buy a house anywhere I wanted without any restrictions. But now they have the non-priority and priority deal where if you are a non-priority member, it means you make more than the median income. And if you're a priority, you're the one you really can buy anywhere. You can buy in a so-called nicer neighborhood. If you're non-priority, you're supposed to buy in a so-called, you know, in a lower income neighborhood because their program is really about neighborhood stabilization. And the unfortunate thing about it is it's meant to do good. At the same time, it is inherently discriminating against people who make more money because they are almost being forced to stay in neighborhoods that others may deem to be not as desirable. So, but the purpose of the program is to get those higher income people in the lower income neighborhoods and the lower income people in the higher income neighborhoods, like I said, for neighborhood stabilization. So if you are a priority member, cool, you know. But if you're a non-priority member, it's very frustrating because you are limited to the places that you can buy. You're very limited. So they would look at these homes, then we'll put it in the Naca tool to see if it qualifies. 90% of the time it didn't qualify. So you're already there, you're behind the 8 ball. Like you're like, most of these houses I like aren't in the, they don't qualify for me buying through Naca. So we had to deal with that. So then they sent me some more homes. We went to look at other homes and we actually put an offer in on one home. And this is where the frustration began. The agent really liked our offer, but then he talked to 3 or 4 other people. First of all, he was in Europe at the time he received the offer. And he said, oh, this isn't a good start because when I go to the website, it's blocked. And I'm like, well, I can go to the website. Anybody can go to the website. It's not blocked. Maybe it is a filter because you're in Europe. And he was like, well, maybe you're right. But then he said, well, let me ask around about the Naca program. So he said he got in touch with 3 other people, and they all said that Naca is a terrible program for sellers to accept because the buyers never are going to close in time. They're never going to do this, they're never going to do that. It's just going to be difficult. So they are 3 separate individual people let this agent know that, man, your seller probably should not accept any kind of loan coming through Naca. So he responded back and said, hey, this house has only been on the market for 2 days. There's no reason for my client to accept this offer now. She's going to hold out for another offer that doesn't have the Naca restrictions. I was like, okay. So I let my client know, hey, here we go. This is one of the things that I told you, one of the downfalls or the downsides of Naca, but it's okay. We're going to find something. Look at other homes. We put another offer in. That offer was rejected because of the terms. They accepted another person's offer that just had better terms, a closing date, and a little more money. So then the third offer we put in, the agent absolutely liked the offer, and it was a seller who is, I'm guessing, you know, it's an LLC, and I think that he said that they had hundreds, thousands of other homes nationwide. So whatever, I understand that. But we put in a really solid offer. It was about 10 grand below asking price. We also asked for 2% in closing costs. But one of the requirements of Naca is that you must close in the Naca office with a Naca approved title company. And I put all that information on the contract, and this is the same lady I used for my in-laws, myself, and my other Naca client years ago. And she's phenomenal. She knows the program left and right. So I put her down. I was like, hey, this person can get this deal closed on July 5th. We'll be good to go. Well, the agent responded and said, we need to change this. We must do this particular title company. Otherwise, we can't move forward. So I reached out to Naca and said, hey, is there any leeway on changing our title company? Like, we have this deal worked out. We just have to, the only thing we have to do is change the title company. He said, absolutely not. A requirement of Naca, as I already knew, was that you must close with a Naca approved title company in the Naca office. So I reached back out to the to the agent. I said, hey man, listen, we are this close to getting this deal done. Is there any way that you or your seller can budge on the title company, because this house has been on the market for 35 days. We have a willing, able, and ready buyer. All we gotta do is just change the title company. He said, absolutely not. My buyer or my seller would have no interest in that. He must use this title company. So I'm like, there we go. I let my client know that, and he was furious. He was furious that after all of this time, all of these months going through the Naca program, a month of actually shopping for a house, he found a house that he really desired with great terms, and we cannot get the deal done because you must close in a Naca office with a Naca approved title company. Like, why can't the title company receive literature, receive some kind of documentation or information from Naca, letting them know of all of the requirements of the Naca program, and why can't we use that particular title company to close on this house? So in this situation, Naca has basically cost my client the house that they really want. One of the very few that they qualify for, and one of the very few that they actually desire, because they are pigeonholed with this priority or non-priority status. So after all of this time, they just said, hey, we're not going through Naca. So they sent the email to the mortgage consultant, and his email back was like, we're sorry to see you go. Your file is now deactivated. My client was super frustrated, sent the email saying, hey, we want to discontinue our relationship with Naca. And it was almost like a relief to Naca that they got somebody off of their books, because they're so backed up. And you have all of these ridiculous requirements that are adding extra stress and extra work to these very much overworked Naca agents. So it's like almost an impossible deal. If you get them in one area, then something happens in another. If you get them in the next area, then you have something else going on. So Naca has become somewhat of an impossible deal. And it has gotten worse over the last 3 years since I closed my in-laws. So I had to put them in touch with an actual mortgage broker who can get a deal done. They already know it's going to cost them thousands of dollars, but they'll be able to buy wherever they want, whatever they want, whenever they want, and not have the restrictions. But hey, that's my Naca story. I don't know if my storage is going to run out soon. I don't want that to happen in the middle of the video, but I'm done with Naca. That's my last Naca nightmare. I just can't believe that it is this inefficient and it is this inconvenient, and it really is putting people at a disadvantage when it's supposed to be an advantage. It's supposed to be a phenomenal program, and at its core, at its best, it really is, but it's just become ridiculous. But hey, tell me your Naca stories below. I appreciate you all. If you made it through this whole video, you know, I would love for you to like, comment, share, subscribe, whatever you need to do. And please leave a comment, because I've watched a lot of Naca videos over the years, because it's not just us. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and no more Naca clients. It's nothing against them. It is completely the program and the system. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. All right. Take care.